Hello, FemCity members. Happy Monday. I am Violette de Ayala. I'm the founder of FemCity, and you're joining us today for our Monday Motivation. Today, we're going to talk about what is holding you back and how you can move past it. And the intention is, as we wrap up the year, because November is next week, as we start wrapping up the year, we can review and analyze to see what's really going on, where are the areas that we need to focus on, and then how to move past that. So this is something that I do personally. Towards the end of the year, I review everything in my life. I make sure to see, if things are holding me back, if there's an emotional block, if there's something that I need to move forward with. And it really helps to close out the year feeling really successful. Even if it's like a small little movement forward, it's still very successful. And then it also helps to prepare us for a very successful start of the new year. So why wait until January or December 31st when you can do it today? So I've invited 3 of these fabulous FemCity Global members. I've gotten a chance to work with each of them, and I know them well. And I think you will find all of their shares to be incredibly valuable. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. If you're watching live, and I know that this time does not work for everyone, but we have so many time zones. If you're watching us live, you can ask questions, you can share aha moments, or you can just give us some love. We totally love that as well. If you're watching the replay, and I know, someone told me this weekend, every time I say that, she goes to herself, that's me. If you're watching the replay, because I know many of you do that during the week, especially during the weekends, you can always reach out to any of us. We are collectively here for you. We want to see your success. We want to see you move forward. We want to cheer you on. So don't ever feel shy to reach out to myself or any of our FemCity experts. We're all here for you. And all right, so let's dive in. Let's go to Laurie. Laurie actually runs one of our FemCity chapters. She's amazing. I'm going to share what I love about you, Laurie. I love that she is so incredibly inspirational. She's active. She's an athlete, and she's always sharing ways that we can be stronger leaders, better humans. She's got programs, online courses. Anything you want to add to that, Laurie?
No, thank you. And that was really nice. So we can leave it there.
Perfect. And we'll give you her website at the end so you can catch up with her because I know you're going to fall in love with her. And then we have Sophie. Sophie is one of our newer FemCity Global members. I mean, it's been a couple of months, but newer. And what I love about Sophie is that she is a marketing wizard. She knows how to help businesses go through processes and scalability. And so she is like an CMO on the hire. So you can reach out to her for small projects, big projects. Anything you want to add to that, Sophie?
That's one of the main things we do, but we also do operations and admins areas of the business as well. We're kind of that one-stop shop for all things in those areas, but marketing is definitely our favorite place to be.
Awesome. Awesome. And then Stephanie, what I love most about Stephanie is someone who's incredibly passionate about helping women take care of their finances. She always adds grace and love. So if you are in a icky financial situation, Stephanie gives you so much love through that process. She's incredibly passionate about making women wealthy and strong and have a secure future when it comes to their money. Anything you want to add to that, Stephanie?
It's so amazing. I think even if women who, what other people would say have enough money or have good incomes, we doubt ourselves and we kind of get stuck in things. And there's so few people we can talk to about money. So I kind of become that trusted, decision-making partner around finances.
Love it. And what I love about you 3 together, the trifecta of perfection, what I love is that all of you have these strengths where I think a lot of women have those stories that are holding them back. So whether it's finances or marketing or maybe that scalability factor, and then Laurie with her athleticism and her leadership and her mentorship and just the work that she does, really those are the areas that I see a lot of women having blocks. They're holding themselves back in those areas. And I know the 3 of you can actually really share great, valuable tips for those that are stuck. So you should feel a connection to any of these industries or topics. So let's go ahead and dive in. I love action steps. And I know our FemCity members want to know, how do you know if something is holding you back and how do you move past it? And I have had many blocks. So I was there. I was not born perfect and I'm not perfect now. So I see that there's always a block that I need to kind of uncover and then release and then move forward. It's an evolution for sure. Laurie, what would be your advice for those femmes that are in that situation right now?
Yeah, thanks, Violet. What you just said is so important, that it's an ongoing process. We're always in the process of becoming. So we're going to come up against something that's new, it's uncertain, it's uncomfortable. We don't like being in discomfort, and then we can just find ourselves stopped without even, realizing it. I know for me, I know something's holding me back when I have something that I say is important to me, but I'm not taking action. I'm not, doing something with it. And I repeatedly have this on my mind, usually 4 a.m. But I've also come to the realization, I don't fret when I wake up at 4 a.m. anymore. I say, okay, what haven't I resolved, or what haven't I given enough time to? Because I'm a good sleeper. So if I'm waking up, there's something unresolved, and I'll take time to think about it, or I'll get up and, because once I do make progress in my thinking, I go back to sleep. Or sometimes when I get up, I'll just sit and journal for a while. And moving past, once I have to take time. I think it's important that we make time. I think sometimes we're just busy with our action items and go, but we need time. So we get caught in doing. We need time for being. And that's journaling, reflecting. And I make time for that because this thing is going to zap my energy needlessly. And I want to have lots of energy. So to prioritize it. And one way to figure it out is think about your values, because your values are the best sort of guideposts. And maybe this thing is, whatever it is, activity item, it's out of sync with your values. Maybe you need to tweak it. Maybe it gives you a place to kind of go deeper and see, what's under there. And then really pay attention to your body wisdom, because once you've uncovered something or are in the process, there I'll speak American and Canadian process, but you'll feel the release in your body, that hanging on, that sort of felt stuckness. When you get somewhere, you don't have to completely figure it out, but you get some progress in your thinking, and it'll just.
Love that. So I took some notes, and I'm going to recap. I love that you actually entered your advice with sharing signs when you know you're in that state, because I think a lot of us don't know we're in that state. We're not clear with that. So I love that you shared, like, if you wake up at 4 a.m. and your mind is working, if you have a goal that you haven't really moved forward with, like there's something there. And I love that you mentioned journaling, reflection, and then also the body wisdom and the energy. I have to say, sometimes I meet people and their energy seems frenetic. And I often feel like to myself, there's something going on there, because that you can feel the energy is not, there's some sort of block that they have. So I think that you can even feel it in others. And Georgie, by the way, the reason why I keep looking back is he now wants to be in the room to join us in the conversation. So I'm gonna get up once we go to Sophie. Sophie, what is your advice for femmes that there's something holding them back and they want to move forward?
So you're being held back, or holding yourself back, I should say, when you've set different goals for yourself and your business, and you're just not quite getting there. You're like one step away, and it's like it's almost there and it's tangible, but it's still out of reach. And usually that's a case of you're not taking action, or you're not taking enough action, because believe it or not, there is a such thing as not enough action, even in our busy world that we're in. I mean, I'm busy, you're busy, but sometimes we're busy in the wrong kind of way. And sometimes we're doing things we shouldn't be doing. We should have a team member, or we should have staff, or what have you, doing some of these things for us, because you as the business owner, for the goals for your business, you need to focus on the things that only you can do, that move that needle forward for getting new clients or getting new revenue and those kinds of things. And part of it is marketing, part of it is operations. And, you got to look at your marketing. I know a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'm doing everything. I'm doing social media and I'm doing Facebook ads and I'm blogging and I'm this and I'm that. But they're very scattered in that. There's not a real true strategy that they're using. And they might be splitting up their time between platforms so that they're not getting enough content out there, believe it or not, because today's algorithms are all about getting as much content out there as possible, even if you are doing ads. And knowing your audience, knowing who you serve, and knowing that your message is clear and relevant and fits your ideal audience and your brand too, because I'm here to tell you, I'm in the middle of a rebrand and a redesign because I discovered that what was stopping me is my old brand, my old website, and my old messaging. And so I'm taking my own advice and I'm doing the work and I'm doing those things to make sure I'm not continuing to hold myself back by holding on to the old things of the past, because that's the other thing. In marketing changes weekly, daily, monthly. You've got to make sure you're doing the current trends, but make sure they fit you too. Don't do anything disingenuous or disauthentic, because people know when you're faking it because it's the thing to do. You've always got to be sure you're being real and authentic in anything you do and not just following a trend because it's the thing to do.
Yeah. And I think that applies pressure to people so they stay stuck because they lose the connection of who they are. They're watching everybody else and then they don't move forward. They create a block because they're comparing themselves. So I took notes. I have to take notes these days, even though I'm still taking my what is it, cod liver oil that I picked up in Iceland. I'm like, I think my brain's holding on to memory a little bit better, but I'm still writing things down. The alignment. Like I feel like sometimes we don't move forward because the alignment is missing, which is what you mentioned, and then sticking to your superhero talents. Like sometimes we stay back because we don't know how to do social media and Facebook ads, and we feel like we need to take it on, and we get stuck because we're scared. We don't know how to do all that stuff. But once you realize what your superhero talents are, then you're like, oh, I'll just give it to somebody else, and then I can work on the things that are in my wheelhouse of expertise. So I love that alignment, checking to see your clarity, being authentic to who you are. Don't compare yourself to other people, because I think that's a place where a lot of women get stuck. I love that. All right, let's go to Stephanie. I always try to call you Sophia also because that's your brand.
That's okay. I love that.
Beautiful names, by the way. Anyway, take it away, Stephanie, your advice.
So when you asked us, to think about what's holding you back, I thought back to this learning that I found so impactful from Tara Moore, who's the author of Playing Big. And because I think what happens is, we decide that it's fear that's holding us back, right? Fear of something. But she shares something that she picked up from a rabbi she had studied with, who shares that in the Hebrew Bible, the ancient Hebrew Bible, there were actually two different words for fear. One was pachad, spelled P-A-C-H-A-D, which is the fear of imagined things, like, oh, what's going to happen if, right? Kind of that false evidence appearing real fear. But then the other fear is yirah, Y-I-R-A-H, which is the fear-like feeling when you're touching something sacred, when you're inhabiting a larger space than you're used to. So it's almost more like awe or a tinge of exhilaration. It's expansive, but it can feel very similar, like fear. So her advice is to kind of get clear, like, okay, this thing I'm feeling that feels scary, which one is it, right? Is it the scary voice in my head endlessly saying, oh, something could blow up, this could go really wrong, you could lose your whole business, and then your family will leave you and no one will love you ever, and you'll be living under a bridge, right? And then you gotta break that apart, like, how realistic is that really? But if it's the yirah fear, that kind of like, oh, I'm touching something big, I have an opportunity to step into something bigger than I've ever done before, the advice there is savor it, right? Try to lean into those things. But the first step is to really decide, which one am I feeling today? That, really made an impact on me.
That's powerful. It's finding the trigger. What I got out of that is like finding your trigger, because then you can dissect it to figure out what aspect of that trigger is scaring you. And I love that you mentioned that, because I feel like there are two emotions. It's either a fear-based or it's a love-based. And I love that you mentioned, by the way, because I see it often, when the possibilities of our brand or the impact that we have is greater, there's a fear there because now we're stepping into a bigger light and bigger responsibility. It's all in our minds. And I was thinking, my great aunt used to say this great saying in Spanish, and it sounds better in Spanish, but I'm going to say it in English. It's like, if you have this elephant to eat, you look at this elephant and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so huge. But then you look at the little pieces, and I love elephants, by the way, but you look at the little pieces and it's not as daunting as that. So the same thing with a trigger is that if you can find what that trigger is that's holding you back, and then where did it come from? Why am I feeling like that? I love that analogy that you used, because that's exactly how we think. If this happens and all of a sudden we're living under a bridge, I mean, like, we just go straight there and then we stay there for a while until we can pull ourselves up. Love that advice. Love that advice. So we had some love that came through. Irma, share some hearts, some love. I got a chance to hang out with Irma this weekend. Her energy is just always so amazing. Louisa, who is our new FemCity St. Pete Beach leader, loving this conversation, and also a FemCity Global Member. And then we have alignment is so important, and truly knowing your values. Going back to Sophie and Laurie's advice. And then, of course, Brenda says, hello, ladies. So, all right, final advice that you have for FemCity members. And then also, how can they connect with you, whether it's a website or your Instagram? Because I'm sure some will want to connect with you after. Laurie.
Wow, lots of great ideas. And two things. One is, give yourself full permission to change your mind. I think sometimes we get blocked or stuck because we went down a path and, oh my God, what will people think? So that's the other one. Don't worry about what people think. It takes courage to change your mind. And, recently another woman and I were going to partner on something, and we were just getting going. And she said, you know what? I can't do this. And we didn't know each other very well. And I said, you know what? In my world and in my relationships, everybody has full permission to change their mind. And the responsibility is to let anyone that's impacted by it know about the change in your decision and clean up any messes or whatever impact it'll have. But most of the time, when we're changing our mind, it doesn't impact anyone, except we're making up stories in our head. And I was chuckling, Sophie, when you were talking about, an old brand and old messaging. And I've actually recently gone back to some of my original focusing on sort of the core of what I do. And not that anything I did was wrong, but I went down a path and I wasn't communicating on the new path what I wanted to communicate. So now it's more so with the More in Me movement, the idea that we all have more, that's true. But the focus of what I do is leadership, mentoring, cross-cultural dialogue. I've done that for 20 years and I was kind of stepping away. And so I'm changing my mind, changing it back. And one more that I forgot to mention earlier is talk to somebody. And femmes are the best people to talk to because they're going to hold us in a big hug while they kind of give us a boot in the butt. And I had a conversation recently with Regina, one of our global femmes. She reached out to me, had a whole bunch stuff going on. She spoke. She listened so deeply and then, gave me such straightforward feedback, perspective. And I said, Regina, you got me out of the muck. All I could do, I was just drowning in the muck, to helping me see the muck. And once I could see it, it was like it all just disappeared. So femmes are your friends, your best friends for talking about stuff because they understand. So the way to reach me, the best place is my website, lauriehunt.com. And I have a mini course on there, Finding Possibility in Uncertainty. And I designed it to help if you're feeling kind of stuck and not sure which way to go. So you can have a look at that. And all my social media links are on there too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to Sophie, your final advice.
My final advice kind of ties into Laurie's. Definitely stop and look at what you're doing. Get advice, have a mentor or coach, make sure your strategy and your implementation is where it needs to be, don't hesitate to outsource, because you cannot do it all yourself. No matter what we say out there, your superhero skills are limited to certain things. Doing it all yourself just dilutes everything and makes it not functional, makes it not effective. You really need to have those experts on your side to coach you, strategize, and then implement. And you always have to be testing and checking and making sure everything is working. Don't just throw it out there and go, okay, I'm done, because that may not be, that first release of marketing materials may not be as effective as you need them to be. There's always room to tweak, change, upgrade, change your mind, change your course, change your messaging, make sure you're hitting the right audience, the right verbiage. All of those things matter, and you can't know that until you try it. And then if it doesn't work, review it. What worked, what didn't, and make changes, because you don't necessarily let go of the goal completely, but you do change the path to get there if the path you're on isn't working. The goal should always be there. If it's something you really, truly desire and really want, keep the goal. Just change your path to get there by trying the different things you need to try to find that right path that does work. But always remember, things change. You'll still never just be going one way to get there. You will always have to make those little tweaks along the way.
Yeah. I'm actually bringing like yours and Laurie's together. Like I love the commonality of like freeing yourself. Like you have the ability to change your mind. You can release things. Like I think a lot of times we have these blocks, and then we feel like the pressure of the blocks. And at the end of the day, when we have the alignment and the clarity, we're like, I don't want to do that anyway. Like, what was I thinking? Like, that doesn't make sense, and like allowing yourself the freedom to do that. And who cares, clean up the mess, of course, like Laura was saying. And then what you're saying is that just realize that there's an evolution in everything that we do, and that's normal. And that's part of releasing those blocks. And I'm going to tie it in with like, when you release a block, there's always another one around the corner. Because sometimes I feel like I see women that are like, oh my gosh, I released that block and I'm good. And then like a trigger will happen a week from now. And then they go back through that spiral that Stephanie mentioned, like it's like you spiral all the way down and you're like, I'm a loser. So that evolution, I think it's important that we touch upon that, and also that freeing, that you can change your mind, you can pivot your priorities, your values, you can, in order to release those blocks. That makes you feel so much better, especially when you're in alignment and you're dealing with your superhero talent. Where can they find you, Sophie?
They can find me at my website, sophiezo.com. I'm also on Instagram as the Sophie Zo, and all of my social media links are on my website as well. I'm happy to connect on a chat, a phone call, and on social media always.
Awesome. All right, so we had more love that came through. Louisa said, together we rise. And then we had another FemCity member, great session. And Irma, love this conversation. I've been having setbacks on these areas. Change. Wonderful. Yay. That was our intention. So that is wonderful. Thank you. All right, Stephanie, final advice. And how can Fems find you, learn more about the work you're doing in this world?
Yes. So final advice on my end, I help women get their arms around their money, and we have a lot of blocks there, as we mentioned, right? And it kind of ties back to everything that we've been saying. The stories we tell ourselves in our heads, comparing ourselves to others, right? A lot of it is self-judgment about the numbers, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I spent that much on whatever, or I can't believe I only have that much in that account. The numbers on the page aren't judging you. They're literally just numbers, right? All the judgment's up here. And it's kind of imagining what everyone else has and what you should have, which we need to find a way to not, don't beat yourself up about it, right? You're beating yourself up about the numbers, right? And yes, we do this all the time. And we just need to find our way to give ourselves grace and, be like, okay, I'm a scientist. I'm going on curiosity. I'm just going to look at these numbers. But then to tie it back to what else we were saying, the freedom and the clarity comes when we're aligning the dollars with the values, right? And not caring what other people spend our money on, but if something is most important to you, making sure your dollars are going that way in your spending, your giving, your saving, your investing, right? There's ways to do all of that. So that's when I have seen my clients get over this kind of, this money block, and then they're able to reduce that stress so they can go out and change the world and make the world a better place.
I love that. And baby stepping in. Like, I know that you talked a lot about that, like baby stepping in, because I also think there's a block when we're like, as an example, I'm sure you see this where women come to you and they're like, I've been scared because they don't know their numbers, or they don't know how to invest, or, there's a fear. But if you just baby step your way in, let me just go ahead and do this little piece. And then let me do this little piece. Yeah. And then eventually you're like, it's like that little choo-choo train, right? When we were younger, like, I think I can, all of a sudden it gets up. So, And I love, again, I know I tell you all the time, Stephanie, I love that you always give women the permission to forgive themselves and move forward based on past history of money. Because that is, I see it over and over again. They're stuck, and then they don't move forward because they're scared to look at their numbers. They're scared to, face what's happening. I love that you're in that space all the time. So awesome. All right. And how can they find you?
Yes. I just want to say, like, no one teaches us this stuff. So do not, get on yourself about not being good at it. Human beings aren't good at it. There's Nobel Prizes proving that. Okay. My company is Sophia Financial. So I'm Stephanie with a PH, and it's Sophia with an F, not a PH. SophiaFinancial.com, and I'm at Sophia Financial on all the various socials, and I'd love to connect.
Awesome. This was wonderful. And we had Linda, who said fabulous and zesty, little orange emoji there. And then Magdalena, thank you, ladies. And last but not least, no matter what, we are always growing. And I think that's a great way to wrap up the conversation. It is an evolution. It is a journey. Give yourself love and grace. Find the triggers, move forward in action with alignment and clarity in your authentic way, and baby step your way in. All right, ladies. So let us know how these helped you. You can always reach out to us at comments here. You can also private message us. We want to hear about your success. And if you have not joined FemCity yet, you can head over to FemCity.com and sign up for our free 30-day trial membership. Take its first spin and see if it's a good fit for you. And we will be back later on Wednesday. And Becky also, Linda said, needed to hear this today. I love when the timing works out. And then Becky, powerful messages. Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.